Morphe is a name that was once in the headlines pretty much every single week back in the early beauty guru days, but in recent years, it's kind of been a thing of the past. Ever since they dropped all their biggest moneymakers like James Charles and Jeffree Star over their constant scandals, Morphe kind of fell off. Their brand became living proof that they were nothing without influencers. They eventually filed for bankruptcy, they closed down most of their physical stores, and now they're trying to make a comeback. We need to talk about their attempt at a rebrand, how it's going horribly wrong for them, and why the influencers who pretty much put them on the map are coming out to expose them. It's a mess, so let's get into it. There once was a time when Morphe had every single influencer in their pockets. They were handing out codes left and right, and because of how lucrative these codes were, beauty creators were pushing their product like their life depended on it. It really was a win for everyone. Influencers were making a killing with their codes, their viewers were getting relatively cheap makeup, and Morphe was making billions. Seemed too good to be true, and we eventually found out it was. The one thing that made Morphe the billion-dollar brand they were also played a big part in why they went bankrupt. The influencers they were working with were messy, and the constant drama and scandals were starting to have a negative effect on Morphe's brand. Every time one of their big moneymakers got into a new scandal, their comments would be filled with customers pleading with them to drop them, and eventually they did. They dropped Jeffree, they dropped Manny and Laura, they dropped James Charles, Jaclyn Hill moved on, and that was the start of the end for Morphe. In January of 2023, Morphe announced that they would be closing all their US stores, which eventually led to their parent company Forma filing for bankruptcy. Now, you would think that would mean that they were shutting down for good and cutting their losses, but nope. New investors took over and they had a plan for the brand. They said they wanted Morphe products to stand on their own and put influencers on the back burner. Quite literally the opposite of what Morphe did in the early days. I think the new investors caught on pretty quickly that Morphe products wouldn't be able to stand on their own in the way they were hoping. They eventually ran back to influencers, but this time it was the influencers on TikTok.
This right here is my favorite thing ever in the history of forever. I think about this every day. I think about this all night long. I stay awake, not sleeping, because I'm thinking about this.
And we've seen them try to win over the TikTok influencers who've made it known in the past that they don't really like Morphe. Less than a year ago, Michaela made a video using products she forgot about, and when reaching for an old Morphe palette, she said that Morphe actually offered her a ton of money to do a collab with them, but she turned it down, and now she's happy she did because no one cares about them.
Morphe? The downfall of Morphe is the craziest shit to me. I don't use Morphe products like ever. I'm gonna use this 35C Everyday Chic palette. I do still have like every single Morphe palette because it's nostalgic. I'm gonna put a little bit of eye base. You wanna hear some tea? In my first year doing this as a career, so 3-4 years ago, I was in talks with Morphe about doing Morphe x Michaela. And this was like a huge deal, like big 6-figure offer. Like I would be in Morphe stores across the world. My face on billboards in New York City was the biggest offer I had seen so far in my career at that point. Anyways, I said no, because I knew in my head and in my heart that was not the path for me. I had a gut feeling not to do it. It's crazy to think about because now no one gives a shit about Morphe.
But recently, Michaela has been showcasing Morphe a lot more. She's been reviewing all of their recent launches.
Look at these blushes. These look really cool, and they're from Morphe? Okay, Morphe. These are called the Euphoric Rush Silk Blush. Say that 10 times fast. It has a primer swirl and then a blush swirl. And it says to apply them with these really interesting puffs. These are so cute. I'm gonna use shade Pleasured. You take the puff and you're supposed to swirl it into the blush like this. Okay. I mean, this is a little weird to me. I've never applied blush with one of these things before. It's kind of fun, but I feel like I can't be as precise. That just looks shitty. I'm gonna try it the OG way. Whoa, that looks way more pigmented. Okay, here we go. This is, yeah, look at the difference. Okay, that is insanely beautiful. There's something about the finish of these. Oh my gosh. This is one of the prettiest finishes a blush can have. Like, oh, what? These are so good.
And how much do you guys want to bet that Michaela and Morphe will be doing some kind of collab in the near future? I just have this feeling that Morphe probably reached out after they saw her video saying that no one cares about them. They know how much of an influence Michaela has on the beauty community, and they want her on their side. I could just see them offering her like Jaclyn Hill level of money for a collab, and her reviewing all these launches is just her way of easing into it. Although, you would think Morphe would want to stay far, far away from influencers with a history of scandals, especially after what just happened with Brooke and Tana. A few months ago, we talked about how Morphe hand-delivered Tana her favorite lip liner that was discontinued and how they brought it back for a limited time for Tana's audience. Morphe sold out of the lip liner within 5 minutes, and when Tana saw how in demand it was, she felt like Morphe maybe should have been paying her for the free promotion. And Morphe did get some backlash from Tana's fans when they found out that Tana and Brooke got nothing but free lip liners. Their comment section was filled with people being like, you need to do a collab with them for the re-release, they need to be paid, and that's exactly what Morphe ended up doing. A few weeks later, Tana and Brooke posted a picture of them behind the scenes at a photo shoot for the Morphe lip liner, but that was short-lived. In true Morphe fashion, Brooke ended up going through a massive cancellation this summer over her past racist tweets being dug up, and Morphe had to pull the plug on the collab. They ended up releasing the lip liners with absolutely no affiliation with Brooke or Tana. We never even heard anything about the collab being canceled either until a live stream from a few weeks ago with Jeffree Star. Last month, Tana had Jeffree on Canceled, and before they filmed, they did a live stream, and Tana and Brooke revealed that Morphe was the one who canceled the collab.
She said, I'm sorry, because the billboard's not happening. But it can happen because you can manifest with a different company.
The day before it was supposed to come out.
I really
And
do.
they just pulled it so quick.
Really?
I think...
Wait. Not to get too into it. So the product's already made?
No, it was a pre-existing product.
It was a pre-existing product that they discontinued. I was in love with it.
The lip color shade, okay.
I was running out of it.
And they're going to repackage it with a Tana unicorn, or no? Nothing?
No, they were just using us to promote it.
And then we got a percentage.
Relaunching. And I was just down because of how much I've already said I love it for free.
So there was no Tana collab, no money involved, no packaging?
They were paying a fee, but if it really came down to it, in my opinion, I think that we would have made them a lot more sales than the fee. So I think everything happens for a reason.
I mean, what bad timing for Morphe. I can only imagine how freaked out the investors must have been, and it makes me wonder if they're going to rethink their relationship with influencers all over again. They were starting to dip their toes back into working with influencers, but clearly it's causing nothing but issues. Now, speaking of the influencers who've caused nothing but issues for Morphe, a lot of them are actually speaking out about Morphe still owing them money post-bankruptcy. Both James Charles and Jeffree Star recently spoke out about how much money Morphe owes them and how it feels to see Morphe continue on paying new influencers when they're owed millions. Jeffree was the first to speak out about it when he went on Canceled. He said Morphe owes him $1.6 million from an installment he was getting from them, and he won't ever see that money because of the bankruptcy and them having new owners now.
And that's what...
Morphe still owes me money.
Me too. Well, let me stop.
The bankruptcy, I'll never get my $1.6 million. Yeah, that's how much they owed me before they filed.
How does that work? You're doing a collab with Morphe. They owe you this money.
Obviously, I got paid several times, and then the next payment was the 1.8. They decided, well, the new CEO fell into cancel culture, right?
Lisa.
That was that was way past that. Yeah. And whatever. And at the end of the day, they owe me and a bunch of people money still. We're never gonna get it. They filed for bankruptcy, and
I can't believe that's allowed, but I guess there's nothing you can really do about it.
But then it's like, they're just moving forward, paying other creators to do stuff.
How does that make sense?
I don't
There's
know.
no back pay situation.
We just had
Did you get canceled? Is that
no?
Well, you were saying they fell into cancel culture as
Meaning, they decided not to work with me over the second video.
Oh.
And I guess seeing Jeffree speak out about how much money he was owed gave James some kind of confidence to speak out as well, because he posted a TikTok and said, "Me watching everyone post about their old James Charles palettes, meanwhile Morphe still owes me $2.2 million. And someone commented under the video and said, "You better get those $2 million. And James replied, "Most likely never will, because they filed for bankruptcy. It actually makes 0 sense." Another person said, someone educate me. I never want to buy Morphe again. And James said, you shouldn't. Even Jacqueline Hill commented and said, oh baby. And James said, hey sister, with a bunch of money emojis. So clearly the OG influencers are feeling some type of way seeing Morphe continue on in business, paying new influencers, handing out collabs, and having a resurgence thanks to TikTokers like Michaela. Meanwhile, they're over here out millions of dollars. It kind of sounds like there's nothing they can really do about it either. Morphe filed, they have new owners, new investors, so that money will most likely never be seen. I'm sure Morphe is just hoping that no one really cares about a bunch of controversial influencers not getting their money, and they can just cash in on the newer, more popular influencers like Michaela, who seem to get away with everything. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below. Do you think Morphe is making a mistake by building relationships with the newer generation of influencers? Or do you think that's really their only hope of having some sort of comeback? Let me know, and I'll see you next time.